I didn't want the president to have to move the chair down. Servant leadership. I wanted to be in the energy of the space that Lauren just created here with the praise team. There's something about that. That's the movement and the energy that's around this space that she created with the praise team. I want to thank you all, and a consistent and always a reminder time. Thank you so much that the students are the star of the show. And I really think that what you had to say is going to be better than what I got to say. Matter of fact, if I knew you just sent me a copy of that, I'd have just not come. Let her do that. Well, you said that, but I think it's a consistent reminder from the praise team to the dance to your presentation, to the response of the faculty to your presentation and all this, that the students are the stars of the show, not the faculty, not even the president. It's our service. And when we see you all go and do and become, we cry. So thank you. And I want to thank the worship planning team. This is a beautiful worship service. You all have done a wonderful job bringing this out. I am preaching in chairs these days. I've got hip issues, just health craziness. And I've learned that it don't make any difference standing, sitting. If I'm in the front, you're in the back. Whether you got a big pulpit or you got a little chair. If you got something to say, that's the thing. So, I thought that I would, on this celebration of LGBTQ plus personhood, the recognition that every human being has a struggle, and the determination that everybody's struggle is noble. And that when you believe that your struggle is noble, but mine's not, you depersonalize me. So I was honored to be asked to share on this because nobody gets out of here without a struggle. And I want to put my voice in to say to the LGBTQ plus community that your work is noble, that your life is noble. I was listening to a person from the hills of Appalachia talk about their struggle. And in the Q&A session, I said, thank you for sharing your struggle. And I want to say that it's a noble struggle. It's a good struggle. Let me get to this text. One more comment, and I thought that I would try to inoculate you for the election. And I would hope that regardless of how it turns out for whomever it turns out, that maybe you would go into the file of the CTS YouTube channel. And I hope this sermon is worthy of being played. It's entitled, Did Heaven Make a Mistake? The text, of course, my soul is downcast. Yet this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for God's compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. I watch with an ever-increasing levels of sadness and pain the massive massive injustice, hate, violence, murder, and cruelty that operates daily, locally, nationally, and globally. The hurt and pain caused in this world by human beings upon other human beings. All over the globe, witness the levels of rape, sexual molestations, abuse of women and girls, discrimination against the LGBTQ community, the economic and political exploitation of the poor, the xenophobia, the nationalism, the militarism, the prejudice against minorities and immigrants, the inequality between the poor and rich with the unimaginable levels of wealth rising to the top and unimaginable levels of poverty falling, the amounts of money and the opulence in the hands of a few, the devastation of the environment, what Pope Francis calls our common home, the drug trafficking, the human trafficking, the mass incarceration of black people, black men and women, the unarmed shooting of African American people, not to mention the corporate greed. Just why is it such that you can go to Canada and get medication for $30 and it's $400 a month down here, and they pass a law you can't go to Canada and get it? Why is that? How in the world do you bomb your way to peace? How do you hate your way into love? I have come to the conclusion that though from Genesis we claim to be above and have dominion over the animals, the fact is that we really are animals. We are animals trying to be moral. What one writer calls moral animals. We're trying to be moral, but when you scratch us or we perceive that our interests are threatened, we go straight to our instincts as animals. We are really animals trying to be moral, and I wonder if human beings deserve to be created. With Sandy Eisenberg Sasso, we're very familiar with the Sassos, I asked the question, do humans deserve the gift of life? In other words, did heaven make a mistake? In Sasso's book called Midrash, Reading the Bible with Question Marks, she records several stories of rabbis debating this very difficult question. Rabbi Simon said, when the Holy One, the Blessed One, came to create the Adamah, the Adam, the human one, the ministering angels formed themselves into groups and parties. Some of them sang, let the human be created, while others urged, let the human not be created. The angel of love said, let human beings be created because they will dispense acts of love. The angel of truth said, let humans not be created because they will speak falsehood. The angel of righteousness said, let human beings be created because they will perform righteous deeds. The angel of peace said, let human beings not be created because they're full of strife. What did the Lord do? The Lord took truth and cast it to the ground. Said the ministering angels before the Holy One, sovereign of the universe, why do you despise your seal? Let truth arise from the earth. The rabbis, of course, are doing a riff on the we and let us create in Genesis. The rabbis in this story suggest that let us means that God consulted the angels about the creation of humanity. Rabbi Simon sees angels arguing with themselves. The angel of love favors creation because human beings will act lovingly. The angel of truth objects, because human beings will tell lies. The angel of righteousness gives the nod of assent because they will perform good deeds. The angel of peace claims that human beings are full of strife. The vote is tied 2 angels to 2 angels. God decides by throwing the angel of truth out of heaven and casting truth to the ground that human beings would be created. It is not that the angel of truth is incorrect in assessing the human character. It is that God wants to create despite the fact that humans will lie and contend with each other. The angels take no comfort in God's action, and the angel chorus says, "Let truth spring up from the earth and return to its proper place in the heavens." But God pays no attention, because if truth assumed its proper place, human beings could not exist. This story through the rabbis tell us something about their profound disappointment in human beings and human behavior, and almost despair that we will ever change. It takes overwhelming disappointment to question whether or not God should have created us in the first place. Watching the daily global and American events, that's where I am right now. Profoundly hurt, profoundly disappointed, and profoundly angry that we are at this place in this country, fighting old battles when we should be well beyond. It seems like the world has gone mad, discarding what is right and true and good and lovely and civil and peaceful. Cast down please and may I and thank you and forgiveness, and I was wrong. It's like fits of rage. And if I could really be honest about it, I tell you that I wrestle with despair. Despair that things will ever get better. Despair that our best hopes and dreams for freedom, liberation, equality, reconciliation, a multi-ethnic, multi-racial, multi-gendered, multi-other democracy could live, and we all could have access to the land and the resources of the land to overcome the small minority of the human population that always seem to come out on top. I struggle for hope. Maybe I've been all my life too far on the side of the angels of love and righteousness, that we will act lovingly and do righteous deeds in the belief that justice and love and mercy. But right now, I am in serious dialogue with the angel of truth. How can we ignore it? The wickedness, the deceit, the violence, the war. Can I sum it up in one sentence? You know that we really are stupid enough to drop nuclear warheads on ourselves. You do really know that. Someone asked Albert Einstein, what weapons will the Third World War be fought with? He said he didn't know, but he could tell you what the Fourth World War would be fought with. He said, rocks. So God, bring truth back to heaven and close shop on this human experience, this human experiment. Heaven made a mistake by the creation of human beings. God, as a matter of fact, you remember we've been at this point before. You got so frustrated with human beings, you sent a flood to virtually wipe everything out and start all over. God, you said it would be fire next time. Bring the fire, baby, and let's be done with this. Just admit heaven made a mistake. Burn, baby, burn. God, let the fire come. The human experiment does not work. God curse human beings and let us die. And then, out of nowhere, out of the depths of my disappointment, my hurt, my anger, and despair, this text comes screaming to mind. My soul is downcast within me, yet this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. For God's compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. It's owing to God and God alone that things are not worse. Because of the Lord's great love, we're not consumed. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. God's mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Everything would burn down except for one thing, the Lord's hessed, faithfulness. I know that everybody in here who's not, Hebrew Bible are probably not familiar with the term hessed. And I always don't like to preach in front of Bible scholars. Homiletics professors, I know how to work with. Counselors and things, y'all, I can work with that crowd. It's the Bible crowd. Hessed can be translated loving kindness, steadfast love, grace, mercy, and goodness. It means faithfulness to a relationship, to act in a loyal, loving way to a person. The word is used 240 times in the Hebrew Bible, especially the Psalms. It is one of the most important terms in Hebrew theology and ethics. It means the strength of God, the steadfastness of God, and the love of God, all taken together. You cannot take just one of them, meaning the strength by itself, or the steadfastness, or the love by itself. You have to take them all together. Hesed means covenant love, mutual love involving reciprocal parties with rights and obligations. It's a relationship such as Yahweh and Israel. This covenant love is not based in obligation, but in generosity. In terms of God and Israel, the weaker party seeks the protection and the blessing of the patron and protector, but may not deserve it. The stronger party remains committed to the covenant promise. Hesed goes beyond the rule of law. It is being in the relationship full of mercy and grace and steadfastness and loving kindness, even in the midst of disappointment, heartbreak, and the continual remembrance of people and a race of people, a humanity that needs redemption from sin, enemies, and trouble. In Hebrew culture, someone does hesed, shows hesed, keeps hesed. Hesed can operate in human relationships, but I don't want to talk about that this morning. I want to talk about God. God does hesed. God does kindness. God does mercy. God does faithfulness. God does hesed in concrete acts of redemption in the fulfillment of God's promise. God is hesed. God's hesed is so hesed that ultimately it is even beyond the covenant. The word covenant does not even sum up. It's the best human word we got, but it's deeper than that, more profound than that. Even when the human partner is unfaithful and must be disciplined. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. God's mercy never comes to an end. It's new every morning. God's hessed is great is thy faithfulness. Everything would collapse except for one thing: the Lord's loving kindness, God's faithfulness. The word hesed is used in Psalm 89:3. For I have said, the world is built on hessed, loving kindness and mercy. In the very heavens, you, O Lord, establish your faithfulness. Let me give you an image from Sandy Sasso. The throne of God is established on hessed. Have you ever gone to eat in a restaurant and the table wobbles when you... Most of you all will slide one of your professor's books under the table. Slide one of my books under to get it steady. Maybe at a fine restaurant, maybe at home, you know you've got to put something, cardboard or rock. Psalm 89:3 says, for I have said the world is built on hessed. In the very heavens you establish your faithfulness. The rabbis say God's throne in heaven was wobbling, and all of heaven and earth was wobbling because one leg was too short until the Holy One, the Blessed One, propped it up. And with what did the Holy One prop up the throne? The rabbis say with mercy. Hence, it is said that the world is built on mercy. God's mercy, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. God's mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. The world is built on hessed. In the very heavens, you establish your faithfulness. As you know, God's creation is likewise precarious, constantly teetering and tottering between survival and extinction, just wobbling. Nuclear threats, more nuclear bombs that we know what to do, it's wobbling. Only hesed, mercy, and divine grace to stay in existence, God props us up. If it were not for God's love, we would have already been consumed. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. God's mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness. It is the recognition of God's mercy and grace and hesed that we are not consumed, and it will not allow me to wreak my despair on others through violence. Because of the Lord's great love, no matter how we are hated, we do not hate. No matter how we are brutalized, we do not brutalize others. We do not demonize other people, call them rapists. What? Immigrants. Like some of these folks ain't married to immigrants. What are you talking about? Just black immigrants? Because of the Lord's great love, this is why we believe in nonviolence. Oh, we will address the issues. Don't think we won't address the issues. We will address the issues. But the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. We are the Lord's hessed that holds the world up. You all remember, of course, Eric Garner, I'm so very sure. July 17, 2014, after a New York City Police Department officer put him in chokehold. He said, I can't breathe. You remember. Several days later, 2 policemen were murdered as they sat in their police cars. The daughter and then wife and family, you remember. You probably don't remember this because the news media, they don't cover this kind, they only cover one side of it. Well, on the other side, the daughter and the wife of Eric Garner went and laid a wreath at the grave of those slain police officers. And 6 police officers had killed their husband and father. Oh, we were wobbling, and I believe she propped this nation up. There are incredible acts of love, hessed, that prop people who have been hated, bless. Props up the world. People who have been cursed, bless. When we go out to address the issues, we are the Lord's hessed. We stand for human dignity, decency, equality, love of creation, justice, mercy, compassion for all. Everybody's struggle is noble. When we do these things, we declare heaven did not make a mistake. Hesed is greater than human mistakes. We slide hesed underneath a wobbling world. Well, lest I keep you too long, let me head to my seat. I'm going to say that about 3 times, just so you know that. As I go to my seat, only one more. Hesed was not only in the Hebrew Bible, but hesed is in the New Testament. Hesed was a theological and ethical principle in the Hebrew Bible but most importantly, hessed is a person in the New Testament. He came through 40 and 2 generations. Hesed came born on the backside of a cheap motel with wood shavings in his apron and carpenter tools in his belt. He walked the dusty sands of Galilee. He came, hessed, Jesus, to heal the sick, gave sight to the blind, made deaf folk hear and lame folk walk, brought dead folks. And we even contended the angel of truth was right. We would speak falsehood and contend even with him. The angel of strife was right. We strove, so much so that we killed hessed. And the world began to teeter and totter. The world was wobbling. And we teetered between survival and extinction. Hesed. Wow, it was removed, and yet God, somewhere deep, deep, in the incomprehensible mind and heart of God, another level of love was found. It's called the resurrection. And the world was propped up once again. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. God's mercies never come to an end. God's hesed it never. Great is thy faithfulness, O God. In a moment, I just have the feeling that we're getting ready to sing that great hymn of the church. I could be wrong, but and I know you've sung it before many times. John, I'm supposed to quote what's the first, you remember the first verse of the song? Can you help me with that? Great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness. Oh God, my Father, I know there is no, I don't know what key I'm in, so y'all just stay with me. Turning with thee, thou failest not, thy compassions, they fail not. Great as thou hast been, thou forever. Summer and winter, springtime and harvest, sun, moon, and stars, in their courses above. Join with all nature, in manifold witness to thy great faithfulness, mercy and love. Pardon from sin, and a peace that endures. Thine own dear presence, to God, strength for today, and bright hope for tomorrow. Blessings are all mine with 10,000. This is the chorus, and I'm going to give it to the praise team. Great